amusement, and a small circle of friends who never asked difficult questions. Their bills were always paid, their meals always planned, their evenings always spent scrolling through the soft glow of a phone screen. But every night, as Aaron lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, something unnameable stirred, a quiet ache, like the faint hum of a song half remembered. Years ago, Aaron had dreamed of being a pilot, not metaphorically, but literally. As a child, they would sit on the balcony for hours, watching planes slice across the blue, drawing invisible lines between clouds. One day, they would whisper, "I'll be up there too." They used to sketch wings, engines, and skies in notebooks. The smell of jet fuel once meant hope. But somewhere between graduation and the dream dimmed, a dramatic fall, no heartbreak, just a slow, quiet fading. Life offered easier paths, safer ones, the kind that didn't ask for courage, only compliance. When Aaron took their first job at an insurance firm, the pay was decent, the hours reasonable, the workload manageable. Everyone said it was a good life, so they stayed. 1 month became 6, 6 became a year became almost a decade. The edges of their ambition began to dull. One evening, as Aaron sat eating takeout in front of the television, a documentary came on, Wings of the Future, the life of modern aviators. The image of a small plane soaring through crimson clouds filled the screen. The pilot's laughter echoed through the speakers. Aaron froze, chopsticks midair. Something inside their chest fluttered, a brief, almost painful spark of recognition. They turned the volume down. The feeling was too uncomfortable, too raw, like looking at a reflection that revealed what was lost. So they switched the channel. The hum of the air conditioner returned. The comfort came back, and with it, the silence. That night, Aaron dreamt of flying, not in a cockpit, but with their own wings. Like they could feel the wind clawing through their hair, the rush of height, the thrill of weightlessness. But just as the horizon stretched open and freedom seemed within reach, something tugged at their back. They looked down. Chains, golden, beautiful, and heavy, were wrapped around their wings. The more they struggled, the tighter they grew. When Aaron woke, their heart was racing. The dream clung to them like smoke. For a moment, they almost cried. But morning routines wait for no emotions. The alarm buzzed, the coffee brewed. The clock ticked. Life went on, easy, predictable, comfortable. On the way to work, Aaron passed by a playground where a small group of children were running, their laughter cutting through the morning haze. One of them wore a cardboard pair of wings taped together with bright blue tape. He was running, arms outstretched, shouting, "I'm flying! Look, I'm flying!" Aaron smiled, but it was a hollow smile, the kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes. For a second, they imagined stopping, telling the boy, "Don't ever forget that feeling." But the crosswalk light turned green. The moment passed. At the office, the day unfolded like all the others. Emails, polite meetings, the faint scent of burnt coffee, the rhythm of keyboards clicking in unison. Midday, a co-worker named Jenna leaned over and said, "You ever think we're too comfortable here?" Aaron looked up. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," Jenna shrugged. "We make good money, have benefits, short Fridays, but doesn't it ever feel like we stopped living somewhere along the way?" Aaron hesitated. "I guess comfort isn't such a bad thing." "No," Jenna said, turning back to her screen. "It's not bad. It's just expensive." "Expensive?" She smiled faintly. "Yeah, it costs us our spark." The words lingered long after she walked away. That evening, as Aaron walked home under the amber glow of streetlights, they looked up at the sky again. Planes crossed above, their lights blinking against the darkness. For the first time in years, Aaron didn't just see them, they felt them. The boy with the cardboard wings, the dream of flight, the golden chains. Was this what Jenna meant by expensive? The price of comfort wasn't money. It was something deeper, something harder to name. Maybe it was passion. Maybe it was purpose. Maybe it was the wings themselves. When Aaron reached home, they found their old sketchbook buried in a drawer. Dust rose as they flipped it open. There, in faint pencil lines, was a drawing of a bird mid-flight, half real, half imagined. Underneath it, written in younger handwriting, were the words, "Don't let the easy path steal your wings." Aaron closed the book slowly. Outside, the wind stirred, faint but real, brushing against the window like a whisper. They didn't know it yet, but something had begun to shift. The cage had cracked, just a little, and somewhere deep inside, the wings stirred. The next few mornings felt heavier than usual. Aaron couldn't shake the feeling that something invisible was following them, not a presence, but a pull. It was as if every moment of quiet now echoed with the question they didn't want to answer. When did you stop flying? The office looked the same as always. Identical gray desks, muted chatter, the soft whir of printers. But something in Aaron's perception had shifted. The fluorescent lights seemed harsher, the smiles more practiced. Even their own reflection in the dark screen before the computer looked unfamiliar. A stranger wearing competence, like a costume. They thought about the sketchbook they'd found the night before. The pages had smelled faintly of dust and nostalgia, and flipping through them had felt like traveling back to a world that once belonged entirely to possibility. A small ache lingered, the kind that makes you want to laugh and cry at the same time. That evening, Aaron decided to take a detour home. Instead of their usual train, they walked along the old neighborhood route, the streets where they'd grown up. The path wound past the elementary school, now covered in ivy and memories. Through the chain-link fence, they could see the playground, the same swing set that once launched them toward the sky. Aaron smiled faintly. How many times had they closed their eyes as a child and pretended to fly? To feel the rush of air, the dizziness of height, the freedom of pretending to be unbound. But the memory that surfaced next wasn't joyful. It was sharp, alive. It was their teacher, Miss Leone. She'd been the first to notice Aaron's fascination with planes. She used to bring aviation magazines to class, letting Aaron pore over pages filled with blueprints and jet engines. One afternoon, she'd said, "Never lose that curiosity, Aaron. It's what gives you wings." That sentence had been tucked away somewhere in the folds of time, until now. And for the first time in years, Aaron wondered, what would she think if she saw me now? The next weekend, Aaron went searching for something they hadn't touched in years. The old model airplane set that used to sit on their childhood desk. A box in the store edged between holiday decor. When they pulled it out, dust rose in a thin cloud. The wings were chipped, the paint faded. But the moment Aaron held it, something deep inside stirred awake, like muscles long unused, remembering their purpose. They set it on the table, fingers tracing the edges. The tiny plane looked fragile, but it carried a kind of defiance. It represented a version of themselves that had believed in impossible things. That night, Aaron didn't scroll through social media. They didn't turn on the TV. They just sat there, staring at that little plane, as if it held answers to questions they hadn't asked in years. Days passed, and with each one, the restlessness grew. Aaron began noticing how the people around them had all constructed their own cages of comfort. The co-worker who hated her job but stayed for the paycheck. The neighbor who dreamed of painting. The friend who used to sing but now only hummed when no one was listening. Everywhere they looked, they saw wings that had forgotten how to fly. One night, while meeting friends for dinner, the conversation drifted to childhood dreams. "Remember when we thought we could be anything?" Someone laughed. "Yeah," another replied. "And thank God we grew up, right?" Laughter filled the table. But Aaron didn't laugh. Something inside them recoiled at those words. Thank God we grew up. Was growing up supposed to mean giving up? They excused themselves early that night, the laughter of their friends echoing behind them like a language they no longer understood. The next morning, Aaron arrived at work early.